me. I am Josiah. I am the oldest son. Gosh, where do I begin? There's so much that my dad has left behind, and I can see how many people he has affected and how many just people's lives he's touched. And I'm just so thankful for all of you for coming out here. Today, I just like to share one of my dad's most loving, caring, just something that he always liked to do every time you were with him. He would always love to cook and always love to eat with you, and later I would discover that many of the things that he would love to do is just cook for you, just make sure that you weren't hungry, that you were full, and that you were just always eating. And I remember I told my dad, I said, "Dad, I'm not going to become a pastor. I want to learn how to become a better cook, and I want to learn how to become a chef and one day run my own restaurant." And he told me, he said, "Well, then you can't be picky, and you have to eat everything, everything that I cooked, everything that you get to try, you have to try it." And later, I'll soon regret it, but I'd like to share one story where my dad, he was just in the kitchen making soup and cooking some meat. And I was like, "Oh, wow, it smells so good. Dad, what is it?" And Dad was like, "Well, you have to try it to know what it is." And I was like, "You know what? Lay it on me. Let's try some." So he got me a bowl of soup and some meat on the side. And I was like, this soup is, what is this soup? Later, my dad would say, "Guah," and I was like, "What is guah?" And he's like, "Oh, it's deer poop." I'm sorry, deer poop? Deer poop? And I was so shocked, and he said, "It's okay, cow poop is better." I'm like, what? Cow poop? And later, as I was eating the soup, I spat out the soup, and I was like, "Well, the meat's gotta be better." Tried the meat. Oh, it's very chewy. What is this? And he's like, "Oh, it's squirrel." Squirrel? What are you having me eat? He's like, "Well, you have to eat what I cook. You have to eat it. You have to learn how to eat. You have to learn how to eat Hmong food." I'm like, "Hmong food?" He's like, "Yes, this is Hmong food. This is what we eat." I'm like, "Sorry, Dad. I don't know if I can do this." And later I was like, Dad, I can't eat this." And he's like, "You will, and you have to." I'm like, "No." And we later went back and forth, and he was like, "You have to eat this." And I was like, "No, I will not eat it." And later he was like, "Well, fine then. You know what? Let's go to Burger King. Let's get 2 Whoppers. Let's go get a Coke, and let's just eat together." And later I would understand, why my dad would love to cook and why he would love to eat. It's because he just wanted to share a meal with you. He wanted to just eat with you. He was a very social eater, and every time that you would eat with him, you would just sit down and talk with him as you're eating and enjoying your meal. it was a way for him to just express his love for you and to get to know you better, just to understand you on a personal level, and just overall, just like, you know, like, this is how I want to show my love, and this is where I can just be able to help you. And for us kids, you know, he expressed that love so much. I mean, look how big I am. I am so huge. My dad loved me so much. And he has fed me to the brim, to the point where he's like, I love you too much. And I will never forget just like how many meals he's cooked, how many times he took me out to, countless restaurants, you know. It's, you know, like Chinese buffets, pho, country buffet, pho again, McDonald's again. Just so many times, and you know, and I always admired that my dad, because, you know, he always looked out for his kids. You know, he never once had us, you know, just starving. You know, my dad, he worked so hard to provide and keep food on the table, and if not to cook for us, he would just take us out. Even if it was like the cheapest thing, like going to the gas station and getting a hot dog and a Coke. It was just, he would never let us starve. He would always keep us full. And, you know, it really helped me realize, you know, this is like kind of why I love food, because it can, you know, I can be able to always fill up, you know, I can always keep you full. I can never, you know, you never go hungry, and it brings people together. And many of the things that, like, you know, with food is that, like, you know, once it's good food, everybody is happy. You know, the bad, that's another story. But Dad, I promise that, you know, once you're gone, you know, I still promise that I will continue to make sure that none of us will go hungry, and that we will continue to be full of love, and full of wisdom and power, and continue to love one another, and continue to always watch over my siblings and love each and every one of them the same way you loved us. Thank you so much for all you have done for us, Dad, and I will forever miss you, and I can't wait to see you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being patient and bearing with us tonight. I am Sunshine. I'm the oldest of the 5 siblings, and I just want to share a little bit about my memories of my dad and how he was a father to me and to us. And I wrote it down so that I don't lose track. You guys all know that my dad was quite the storyteller. And wherever he went, I think as his kids, we thought, man, he recycles the same jokes over and over and over. But everyone laughs all the time. But our favorite memories of our dad with his stories and his jokes would be when he tries to tell us the joke, but he starts laughing before he can even finish it. And we don't even understand what he's saying, but he turns bright red because so it doesn't take much. And then I'm like, Dad, breathe, calm down, you know? But he's just such he's a guy who loved to fill the room with laughter and joy. And that's what I remember most about him. When anybody stepped into our home, they did not leave until 2 or 3 in the morning or the next day, because they exchanged stories all night. They talked and they cried and they laughed together. And he just loved living life with people. And jokes were a great way to kind of bring everyone together and to break that barrier Sometimes people think, oh, Xibhwb, maybe he's too serious, and then all it takes is that one joke, and he breaks down that barrier, and they sit with him at ease, and they start sharing their life. For me, our father was a very, very good father. When I look back at my life, I see him at every major event and milestone. He was, at the time, what I felt like was the overbearing father with the digital camcorder, filming everything and taking thousands of photos. And sometimes when I was younger, I thought, stop, like just chill, put it down for a second. But as we were preparing for my dad's funeral here, we have thousands of photos, endless videos of our lives, because that's who my dad was. He wanted to make sure that we would always remember everything. And he loved us so much. As you guys know, my dad was a world traveler. And because he had us, he couldn't travel the world quite as much anymore. But he took us around the US, he took us everywhere he could with him. And when he worked for Xibhwb, our vacations revolved around annual conference. So wherever annual conference was, we stayed a week after for vacation. But because of that, we got to go to some of the greatest places as a family. He took us to visit churches, the Hmong churches, Xibhwb in Utah and in Iowa, and we got to see these smaller churches and families and spend time with them and eat with them in their homes and worship with them on Sundays. And these are memories that I will never forget. And our dad always told us, no matter where we go, God will always bring you someone. And so he always told us that love on people. Anytime that anyone's around you, don't close your door on anyone. Don't ever turn down the opportunity that God gives you. And I was fortunate enough as the oldest, the Lord gave me 32 years to learn from the greatest man that I have ever known. He was the one who taught me how to make pho, and he's the one that taught me how to make cucumber papaya. He taught me to never be afraid to ask questions and to always be curious. He taught me that the world was worth exploring, and that the world is filled with people who need the love of Christ. Throughout my life, I not only got to benefit and see from him being an amazing father, but I got to see him be an amazing pastor and be a part of the ministries that he was called to. Anytime, any moment of the night when he received a call, he went. The thing that I learned and observed most about him was that my dad was someone who listened and loved. And people loved being around him because of that. I think back to all the times that his care group in Denver were at our home, and I remember Saturday nights, they would be there late into the night, and I, as